All right, let's see.
We are live.
Oh, BJ.
We have
So I was super upset. I went over to my local half price books on Sunday and I was looking through all their comics and I kid you not, they had a full run of Saga, but it started at 26 on. I I saw it. I'm sitting there and I'm flipping through all of them. They were like $1.99 each, and I knew the ones you had sent me that you were looking for, and so I got super excited. And normally what they do is they keep like all like the kind of more valuable ones behind the counter. And I immediately asked, and I was like, "Hey, do you have any of the early sagas?" And they said no. That the guy that sold them, like it was like I think 20 on, and someone came in and bought like 20 through 25.
uh,
They had everything else, but I got so excited. I'm like, I'm actually gonna. I was hoping I'd be able to get a number one or number two for you.
I got number one. I
Okay.
was they had number two at the Captain's Comics Fan Expo for 35. I passed on it though.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Our half price books actually is pretty reasonable with their pricing. Like they don't really overprice anything too crazy. Like I got the entire run of the original Civil War. I think I paid like maybe $20 for all they did for all what 6 or 7 issues.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm definitely trying to keep an eye out for you.
I appreciate that. I got something else coming to you besides that other comic. I'm
Nice.
just waiting for it to come into the mail. So maybe I mean you don't have to, but you can do maybe a weekly review about it.
Fantastic.
Well, welcome everybody that's on the stream. This is Syndi-Comics Weekly. This is the 1st of March of 2018 already. There's been a lot of stuff happen this week. I saw something new today off of Comic Book News that wanted to talk about a little bit too. But we'll get to that a little bit later. We have a lot of topics to actually talk about tonight. One is, of course, Comic Con 101, and then our spotlight on Rick Remender.
Yes.
And then, of course, it wouldn't be a comic stream without some comics, except I got zero the show this week. I got nothing. But that's all right. It all happens to us, you know. Um, but yeah, just wanted to bring up. So I saw today Amazing Spider-Man #1 was going to be coming out in June with a new set of writers, and I'm like, good grief, people, come on, Marvel. I mean, last week it was Avengers and Venom. Now it's Spider-Man. So it's like, okay, they haven't even done Legacy at all if they're going to do this crap.
Yeah. Legacy makes no sense now. It's like like I said, I think it was they were trying to react against Rebirth. That Rebirth went back to the original numbering, and they were like, "Hey, what if we did that real quick?" But they don't give anything. Marvel, at least seems right now, doesn't give anything a chance to breathe. And the second that it doesn't sell as well as I think they anticipated, they immediately go right back to these old antics of, "All right, we're going to go back to number one." And I think that that's a disservice to what they were trying to do with Legacy. I mean, we kind of talked about this last week a little bit, like with the Tales of Suspense and bringing back some of the titles that I think fans were like, this is really cool. We haven't seen this since 1960, 1970. And then they start bringing them back, get us, just tease a little bit to where we're like, this is really cool. And then immediately pull out the rug and we're like, hey, we're going right back to number one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this was one of those moments I'm like, all right, I understand that they wanted to rotate things around, as far as creative, writers and artists, and inkers throughout the books, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been nice if we would have stayed something for at least a year versus changing it, after 3 to 4 months.
Yep.
It's just like, yeah, it's like they brought Generation X back, after so many years. And now issue, I think 87 is the last issue. It's like, why bring these series back if you're just going to cancel them and start over anyways?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Venom. We got Eddie Brock back as Venom, in issue number 6, and then they continue it with 150 on till now. But now we're going to get back to Venom #1, and now the symbiote has decided that it wants to do something different than what Eddie wants to do.
Yep.
So I understand the concept of the symbiote taking over, and, and doing what it wants to do, but that's not how it's worked for the last 30 years as a symbiote. The symbiote was a parasite that needed a host to live. So now they're getting, I don't know, maybe growing a pair of balls a little bit. Sorry if you have any kids out here watching.
I'm
But
drinking here.
but it's just one of those things. It's like, all right, you're twisting everything now about characters. It's
Yep.
like I've been reading the Mighty Thor, by Jason Aaron, and I've always liked the character Jane Foster. When she got made into Thor, and we turned, the other Thor into unworthy Thor because of what happened on the moon. It gave Jane Foster an outlet to actually be a different kind of character instead of just the girlfriend of Thor. And now we're killing her off. And it's like, okay, Marvel, what are you doing to us?
Yep. Well, it's kind of interesting. Like the things I think Marvel takes a chance on. Donny Cates is kind of the exception right now because I feel like he's really kind of pushing the envelope with some of the stuff he's doing. But you look at like our spotlight artist of the week, Rick Remender. I mean, some of the stuff that he was doing with all new Captain America, like they don't really allow people that push the envelope or push these characters forward time to really kind of get their footing. And the second that they do something they don't like or doesn't get, a fan reaction. I mean, like, I honestly believe that Nick Spencer had a completely different idea for Secret Empire before all the backlash of, the whole Nazi, Hydra, Captain America backlash. And then as soon as all that happened, I honestly believe that Marvel was like, no, you have to turn this around somehow. You can't do what you were initially willing to do. And I think that's where Marvel's kind of failing a lot, like much like Unworthy Thor, where you finally get an interesting take on a character, and then as soon as it stops maybe selling so well, or they do something that doesn't like, they immediately just canceled the book.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating because it's like you get these really cool ideas, you get invested in these characters again because that's what it's going to take. Like you take a look at Rebirth and some of the things they're doing. It may not all be fantastic writing. Or it may not all be stories that really connect or land with you, but at least they're trying to push boundaries. At least they're trying to do something new, especially with Tights and Capes comics. You have to do something new at this point. I mean, they've been around since the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's at some point the stories are the exact same, and it has to grow at some point.
Well, it's like you look at the Defenders. They're canceling the Defenders series. And I've only picked up the first issue, and it was an amazing book. But it's because they were trying to push topics way too far. It started becoming like a Marvel Knights thing all over again, like from 2000s. And once they got too close to that, canceled.
Right.
And it's like, this is an avenue. If you were smart, Marvel, you could have tied it into the MCU universe from the movies and the TV shows, and explored some of those other options, out there. Because there were so many things they could have did, they could have showed, if they want to say it was a mini series within the Netflix era, they could have did that with the comic series. They've done it for many books, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they did it with all these prelude books and all that. But the Defender series itself, that story could have went for 30, 40 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Welcome in, T-Man. All right, so first up, let's start with the spotlight tonight on Rick Remender.
Who?
Because I was excited for that one. Out of everything, I think out of everyone we've done so far, I think this is still my favorite guy. I love Donny Cates and I love Charles Soule, but Rick Remender is kind of what brought me back into Marvel, actually.
He does some fantastic things with Marvel.
And what I like about him, though, is that he's not just a writer, too. He's a penciler. He's an inker. He's a colorist. I mean, he does everything.
Yep.
He's been a letterer.
Well, and not only that, but like not even just with comics. I mean, he's done everything from album art to he worked with animation. He's pretty much anything with a creative kind of what you would think like an animator, comic, sequential art artist. I mean, he's touched it all.
Yeah, I mean, I saw he did some work like heavy metal and aardvark too. I saw. Um,
The biggest thing that I know him for is I'm a huge punk rock guy, and he did a ton of album art for like NoFX and Fat Wreck Records back in the late '90s, early 2000s.
yeah, I saw one he did for the Misfits too. Because I mean, I'm a huge, old school punk, Fear,
Right.
Misfits, that kind of stuff I'm into. But I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I can, and it's like you don't really put two and two together a lot of times, from these artists, It was like Nine Inch Nails. They had a lot of artists, comic artists, come in to help them out. I'm like, this is amazing to see music and comics be put together like this.
Yep.
Yeah, don't forget Tom McFarlane with Korn back in the late '90s.
Yeah.
Follow the Leader cover.
Capullo did the Follow the Leader album cover, and he did one of the Disturbed covers as well.
He did The Sickness.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just a lot of us don't think about it in that aspect. A lot of times, we think, oh, this is just a cool design. Well, there's a reason why it's a cool design. It's a comic artist,
Right.
A lot of times we just don't put two and two together.
Well, heck, Tim Seeley does the bottle art for the craft brewery up in Indiana, Three Floyds. He does the artwork for Zombie Dust, one of their flagship beers.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I mean, and I've seen a couple of it's funny, like the Grateful Dead ones are done by comic artists. I saw what was it? What was that other band I saw? Led Zeppelin. They actually had a beer cover, and it was kind of ironic because it was done in an image of Jimmy Page or Robert Plant. Well, that was originally penciled by Neil Adams.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is amazing, dude. I want to find that.
Nice.
I bet the beer would taste horrible because that was like 30 years ago, but hey. Welcome in, Kathy. She's snowed in Ireland.
Ooh.
What's up?
It's crazy.
I've seen some crazy, being a soccer fan, I've seen a ton of crazy reports of some of the matches and stuff being canceled because of the weather they're getting up there. Yes.
Yeah, it dropped down to about 30 degrees down here, or 40 degrees, and then tomorrow's supposed to be 30.
Really? So we're up in the 50s and 60s up here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like 70 during the day, and then 40 or 30 at night the next couple of days.
That's crazy.
I have no. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's weird. Like, we haven't broke 55 or 58 in a week here for a high. And it's all been like 41, 42 in the mornings, maybe 38 some days. That's damn cold for California, by the way.
Right. Yeah. I thought I saw like LA actually got some snow. Was it Tuesday or yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah. We've got a huge rain thing coming in tonight and tomorrow, so we're all kind of just chilling out, waiting to see if anything's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had Johnson came in and Jeff.com. Welcome in, guys. Yeah, T-Man, I think I'm about ready for spring weather. I'm about ready to get back to my 70s, my 65 to 70. Usually that's what we have year round here, 65 to 70,
Minus
but talking about
Holland, though. It gets pretty bad down here. It rained today, and then the water just looked like yellow snow, really. It just gets covered here really bad in Columbia for some reason. It's terrible.
don't eat the yellow snow.
No, especially if you're allergic to it.
Well, talking about Rick, I did some research, and I actually found there's actually books I had from him that I didn't even realize he had done. And one was Man with the Screaming Brain that he had done with Bruce Campbell. And I was like, because I love everything Evil Dead, or anything Army of Darkness, and I'm like, this is freaking awesome. He did the pencils for that book, And I'm like, dang. And that's when I kind of learned, researching back to my old books. I'm like, he's did a lot in his career, and he's been around for a long time too.
Hmm.
He isn't like Charles Sewell and Donny Cates, who've only been around for 5 or 6 years. This guy's been around for like 10 or 15. He's been doing a lot of stuff.
Really, I think it's even been longer than that because I mean, he started doing his own independent books with like Fear Agent and things like that, the late '90s, early 2000s, and he really didn't hit his stride with Marvel until almost 10 years into his career.
Yeah, and because I saw that, he did the Avengers Ultron Imperative, and then Avengers 48 through 53 with some of his good breakout work in Marvel.
Yep.
Um, but I was looking. I remember he had did Captain Dingleberry, which is
Yep.
always fun to see. um, and because I still have that, I had that graphic novel still, and I was like, yeah, you don't get no better than this. But
I
yeah, I
just
mean,
got remember the past 2 years that I didn't really realize it. What caught my eye was Tokyo Ghost,
Yep.
and it was because of Murphy. And I just realized when we first started doing these streams that was Remender. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just check them out then. Start off with Seven to Eternity,
Yep.
then turn it to Dead of the Class, and I got about the first three volumes of Blow.
Yep.
So I'm gonna start doing that.
yeah.
I did see some Fear Agent. I do have a question with that. Did he start that off in Dark Horse and then go to Image with that?
Yes.
Okay. I was
Yep.
reading, looking up, so I saw that. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I believe I want to say it was like for single issues, it was all produced for Dark Horse, and then later on when they reissued everything in trades within the last maybe 5 years or so, Image has basically kind of overtaken all of Fear Agent.
Okay.
And I think it's because Remender he has signed contracts
Hmm.
between the different companies. He's not like some of these other guys who float back and forth. But he said all of his independent work would typically be tied to Image.
Hmm.
Okay.
Uh, Same way with his Marvel work, and he actually has some DC work too. I mean,
Hmm.
he did do some Booster Gold issues way back when.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I thought that was like one of the interesting things with him is like, I mean, as BJ pointed out, this is my man crush. Like he is my favorite writer. Like it doesn't matter what it is. I will be reading whatever he puts out. But I thought that was the most interesting thing was after his run at Marvel with Uncanny X-Men and all new Captain America. A lot of things he did there. He just flat out quit the Main Street Comics because he wanted to focus on independent creator-owned things. Right now, that's all he's doing, and that's all he wants to do is his own creative book, so that way he has full control over the creative process and what goes into it and what he's allowed to do and what he wants to do and those type of things. There's a really interesting interview on Comic Book Resources where they kind of ask him about like, hey, what happened with Marvel, and he says there was nothing really that happened. It was just that I guess there was an illness in his family that he had to be home a lot more and be much more attentive to his family. That he made that choice of stepping away from Marvel because of the demand that they wanted for different timelines and things like that. And he just wanted to be able to have that creative freedom of if it's Deadly Class, if he wants to take a 6-month hiatus to focus on family, he's more than able to. And he also has full control over the creative process. He said that it's one of those things where he's more than willing to go back to if it strikes him right and the timing's right and everything like that, he's more than willing to go back to mainstream DC Marvel books. There's no bridges burned or anything like that. But it's just kind of interesting to see a creator that I think has the name recognition that I think Marvel would in a second put him on a book to try to maybe boost some sales of a title. Just kind of step back and say, nope, I'm good. I'm good with creating my own stuff. And I mean, this stuff's allowed to speak for itself. But I think that's like an interesting kind of process for a creator saying like, I want to spend more time with family. I want to, have control over kind of my own thing as far as saying, it'd be a dream for me to do X-Men. So I'm just gonna, do my own thing.
We got some things out in the comments. Count Von Strange, he came in. Let's see. Sith AF asks, what are our thoughts on the Marvel Comics adjusting to the MCU? They've been doing that since MCU started, pretty much. That's why our comics and Marvel have started to suck lately.
Yep.
Agreed.
I don't think it's a bad thing that they. It's weird. I get why they try to do it, but I think Marvel allows the MCU to dictate everything, and I think that's where they're failing right now. Is they're too concerned about making the comics too much like the movies, kind of hoping the readership kind of hoping someone goes sees the movie immediately comes over and buys a comic, and I just don't think that's happening. And I think it's us, the people that are actually buying the comics every week, every trade, whatever it may be, are the ones that are really suffering because we're not getting good stories. We're getting cookie cutter images that fit into what they're trying to do with the broader audience of the movies.
But you got to give it to Marvel, though. I mean, they're making more money than DC is now on comics, just for that reason. I mean, everything they've been doing. I mean, look at it. Look at Infinity, countdown that they have right now. That's all around Adam Warlock, and then that's the one person we all want to see in Infinity War. In the movies, we want to see Warlock show up and stop Thanos.
Yep.
So it's. I mean, they're making money, and we're buying the books, so their business strategy works.
Yeah. I mean, but how much of that? But I mean, I guess my argument to that is, but how much of that is like kind of our OCD as collectors, as comic readers, to kind of finish a run, or is it actually because we want to or is it because we're invested in the stories?
So for me, like Warlock is one of my favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm invested in the story. Even though I know in the background, back of my head, this is because of MCU, I still want to see how Warlock gets done in this new series. Because he's not one of those characters that shows up all the time either in the Marvel Universe. We're talking like maybe over 10 years or 15 years he'll finally show up in a book. So
Right.
those ones I'm always invested into.
It could also not just be Marvel itself, but with being part of the Disney Corporation now, they might have to talk to other, CEOs or whatnot, and hey, we want to do this. Yeah, that sounds good, but let's do it kind of like the movie, so we can sell off these other things at our parks and to other stores and stuff like that as well.
Right.
Well, it's the same way they did with the Star Wars books, that we've had. We've had a lot of great Star Wars books lately.
I agree.
But a lot of that is because Marvel got bought out by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the right people and the right resources to attach themselves to the Star Wars characters. Because it's been lacking a lot before Marvel took back over for Star Wars. We had some stuff from like Dark Horse and stuff like that, but we hadn't had really good Star Wars series in a long time. Knights of the Old Republic, in just a paperback read, I'll read it any day. And that's where I think if Marvel would look at regular books versus comic books and bring, like, if they did some adaptations of those books, I think they would actually sell really hot, those books. And then we had, let's see, one more question we had from Count Von Strange is, what do you think of Diamond Retail starting their own pull list that will be sent directly to your LCS? Will it hurt or help the comic stores? I talked to my guy a little bit about that, and it's supposed to be more, I would say, personable to the end user versus to the comic shop itself. Because I got to see the actual pull list myself, but it's something that they've really been doing the whole time. If you think about it, how many times does everybody get a copy of previews? You know, it's pretty much the same list, or you can even get the big diamond preview book for $4. You
Mhm.
know, so we already know what's coming out. You know, but it was supposed to be made like a checklist. So we would say we want this, and this. It's no different than what we already telling our guys to put on our pull list, anyways.
Right. The only thing that looking at it, the only thing is I know my local comic shop when I was doing single issues, they weren't always the best at, even if I had it on my pull list. Let's say I had Batman on my pull list, which I did. It was kind of hit or miss. Like some of the guys, like I love them to death. Like they're good friends. I still talk to them all the time. But he might get confused, and all of a sudden on my pull list, instead of having the main Batman title, I would have, I don't know, Batman, whatever the Arkham Knight video game adaptation book was, which I really wasn't interested in that. I wanted the main title. And so I feel like there was some human error in at least some comic shops, especially some of the smaller ones where maybe their pool list wasn't as kind of, not technologically advanced, but like, it was just like, like mine, it was just, I wrote the titles I wanted on the back of a comic board. And then they would pull them that week. I don't think they were specifically ordering them specifically for me. I think they would just pull whatever they ordered based on what they got. I think the diamond thing, if it works, would be a little bit more accurate in, saying like, hey, let's say I want to put, I don't know, some Valiant title that isn't going to sell very well, like let's say Divinity. Because that was one I always had trouble getting with my local comic book shop because they wouldn't order them. Let's say if I could order Divinity through Diamond, hopefully Diamond would actually at least send one copy to your retailer. But my question is, how, like, I know that's maybe some of the mom and pop comic shops that don't maybe use computers as well, much like mine didn't. Are they actually going to know to hold that one copy that Diamond sent because I ordered it for me, or are they just going to put it on the shelf and then someone comes in and buys it within before I actually get there? I think it's a good idea, but I mean it really isn't changing anything. It's just basically you're ordering for yourself. It still comes down to whether or not your comic shop actually holds that book for you. I don't really feel that there is a whole lot of difference other than you're ordering yourself directly through Diamond, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. The way I understood it, though, talking to my guy, it's like you're doing an order straight through Diamond, and you actually get a paper that says, "Here's your stuff that you ordered." It's
Okay.
like you ordered it, and then it gets sent to the comic shop. Um,
Okay.
but that also puts a burden on the comic shop too. So, for example, if you take and you want one of those variant covers, they're 1 in 25 or 1 out of 50.
Hmm.
That comic shop might have to eat the burden of having 25 or 50 copies of that book just so you got that one variant.
Okay, so you can actually, if you want a variant, you can actually request, like you can order that then.
Yeah, like
Man,
my Hypno comic shop, they have an online subscription pull box. So I just go through and I do the online titles, and and they'll come up and they'll say, "Hey, there's a possibility for a pre-order for a variant." The variant list will show up, and I'll say, "I want that one, that one, that one, that one, that one," and I
right.
hit enter, and then I'll get them. Depending on what that book is, if it's 1 out of 10, they only have to have 10 copies, of course. But if it's 1 out of 25 or 1 out of 50, the comic shop itself might have to eat the burden of that.
Man, but I mean, like you think about it. So let's say let's say all three of us were shopping at the same or LCS, and we all wanted the 1 in 50. So I mean, you could be talking about them ordering 150 books just for
Yep.
us three to get that variant. Man, see, I don't
Yep.
know if that would work then. Because I mean, like I know my shop, like they hardly ever got variants because I mean they just didn't sell it. I mean like even like Batman and things like that, they might on any given week buy 50 copies, if that. I mean, I couldn't imagine them having to, if I wanted a variant. I know DC doesn't really do a whole lot of those type of variants, but if they did, I mean, I couldn't imagine them like having to order 200-300 copies just if 6 of us wanted one variant. Man, I don't think that scares me. I kind of feel bad for owners because variants are a huge thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are. I mean, you think about now, and this is also where comic shops have to evolve too, though. I mean, they can't be afraid of a computer. They can't be afraid of eBay. They can't be afraid of having a website to sell things other than just what's in the comic shop itself.
Right.
Because they can reach more people, reach more sellers and buyers out there with items like that. Um, Especially like there's some of these bigger ones. You think about like Midtown. You think about those big ones. My Comic Shop. All those big ones. A lot of them have a huge online support mechanism that they can help users with. That's where the LCSs today are lacking a lot of times, and that's why we go to the bigger ones because we need to find those certain issues or those like, for example, Phoenix Resurrection. I love that series. One of my favorite series of the year. And I got all the variants but two, and it's only because my LCS could not get those two in. Because of that. So it's like I had to go buy them from a bigger area. This is helping out a lot of those big sellers now. Might not help that small LCS, but it will help out the bigger ones.
Right.
I've got one of my friends who goes to the same LCS I do. He literally spends $100 to $200 just on all the variants he can get for Harley Quinn and Star Wars, which it's fine because that's what he does. But the thing with our LCS, if you have a subscription, like a minimum of 5 comics for a subscription, he'll give us a 25% discount off of our prices on our off the retail as well too. So kind of like scratch his back and we scratch ours kind of thing.
Right.
And that's how mine is. Mine does, and it's funny. It's like it's funny. We have two categories. We have the members, which get the 15% off, and then we have the subscribers, which get 25% off. So our subscribers is a minimum, I think, of 7 books for ours. And I have about 15, so I'm good to go, on mine. But it's one of those good, partnerships that the LCS tries to do with the community to say, yes, we're going to give you 25% off of everything, that you buy, and it's freaking awesome, And that's where comics also have to evolve a little bit too, to having collectibles, and that's another avenue that Diamond has really been doing well at, is selling figures and statues and you name it, And if your LCS can do that same 25% off, when you think about it, if it's $100 thing and you're only going to pay 75 for it, why wouldn't you do it? You get better business out of it, and you keep more customers coming in.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cal Strange says, hey, LCS rarely deals and variants. That would suck if something like this put pressure on his business. I'd rather buy local from a brick and mortar store as opposed to doing online shopping. Amen, dude. I mean, and that's how I always loved. I love going to my LCS, talking to the people there, picking up my books. They're good friends of mine. But I mean, as a collector, if there's a certain thing you want and it's not there, you got to go somewhere else to get it. It's no disrespect to them, and they understand that too. They understand, like, especially if it's like what was I was reading, was it Spirits of Vengeance. They were only getting like 8 to 10 copies of that book in because nobody was reading it but a couple of us. So they never got any of the variants in for that book.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that, because it's like, hey, they were taking a chance on a newer book that might not appeal to a lot of people in the mainstream community now. All of us old guys that remembered Spirits of Vengeance from the 90s, we're like, this is awesome. We got to keep putting more books out. Keep putting, because that's a good series.
Yeah.
But yeah, tying back around to Rick Remender.
I was about to say the same thing.
I said Rick was one of the guys that got me back into Marvel, and that was because of Uncanny X-Force. And Michael Pina was the artist with him doing that series. And I had to go buy a bunch of books before Uncanny X-Force 2 just to understand what was going on. Because the last time I'd read X-Men was like Zero Tolerance. So we're talking like almost a 10-year gap. in between books. So I kind of got fed back into it, but then found out, okay, the Uncanny X-Force is the Black Ops of the X-Men. You know, it's these guys it's set up to do. I'm like, and I read about Phantom X. I'm like, okay, that's a freaking interesting thing that Phantom X has, his ability to work in this world, you know, and do everything. And he's like, he's almost like Legion. He's kind of a schizophrenic kind of guy, you know, in this area. But it was kind of cool to see how the new uh, comic guys were in there. But the one thing I liked though was the storyline in Uncanny X Force, the flow of what was going on in the story, you know. And there wasn't. I mean, there were some tie-ins like the Age of Apocalypse. I was a huge fan of because I loved the Age of Apocalypse back in the '90s, you know. So to bring that full force back through, I'm like, this is awesome. But what I liked is like they made Wolverine evil and they turned him into Apocalypse, you know, and it's like, okay, nobody really thought about doing that before, except when they made him Death, you know, when he was under Apocalypse, you know. So I loved how his writing went with it. So I was really sad for 35 issues it was over.
Yeah, that was a good run.
All right, so I got a new book for you to read, BJ, from Rick
Okay.
Remender. Black
Okay.
Science.
Yes.
What's that?
Black Science. You need to go read that one.
Yep.
Black Science? All right. You might have to send that to me in the message there so I can look for it.
Because I finished the Seven to Eternity already with what's most recent, and I was just like, and I started reading through Black Science. He has a specific way of writing too. I mean, you know how it's a Rick book when you read through it. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a lot of books that are really choppy as far as writing. I've never had a book like that out of Remender. I mean, it's like flip, 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 flip. And it's the right variety too. I mean, it's not like there's 1,000 words on a page, but there's not 20 words on a page. It's kind of there's enough in the storyline, enough in the artistry to keep you motivated to read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think that is the biggest thing with Remender's writing is just how, and it's outside of Lowe, and Lowe's an interesting take because Lowe started as kind of his therapist's idea of writing a positive story, one of hope, not of because I mean if you really look at Remender's writing, even this Marvel stuff, it's depressing. I mean, like everything he deals with is really dark.
It is.
You look at Deadly Class, you look at Seven to Eternity. There's always a huge amount of conflict in these characters. They're always extremely flawed, and there's just a lot of like darkness surrounding them. Even going back to like Fear Agent and like or All New Captain America and Uncanny X Force. I mean, everything about it just has a darker tone. And I find that funny about Lowe is you look at Lowe and it still has some very thematic, some of the kind of dark thematic themes, but the whole idea is just kind of centered around this one woman looking for hope in this desolate world. But I think that was always something that drew me to his writing, especially when I started reading Deadly Class, was just how well everything built together. Like you didn't get any issues where it was like, oh, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, this is boring. It's always pushing the story forward. It's always giving you his writing, the way he's able to write a character and like really make you connect with them. I think it's just absolutely brilliant. And his pacing, I mean, like he knows exactly kind of when to reveal something, when to hold something back. I mean, and honestly, Deadly Class, BJ can attest to this. Reading some of those, I mean, his cliffhangers suck. I mean, especially like it's cool. It's all right if if you just start a series and there's like 8 trades, you can just keep reading them. But man, like once you hit one on a monthly on a couple month basis, and you have to wait for another 6 months for the next trade comes out or next single issue comes out. Oh, it sucks because he does. I mean, he knows exactly when to end the story and want to and keep you wanting more. And that's I think that's a gift that a lot of books in this day and age don't really have a lot of times.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like Kirkman's writing on Walking Dead. I mean, it was the same way for so long. You know, it kind of fizzled out after All Out War. After Negan pretty much killed Glenn and them, and then they had the recession for after 3 years. It was like, okay, it's starting to get a little repetitive. And that's kind of why I dropped off of buying single issues at that point. But it was the same way for so long. It was like, okay, what's next? And then I figured out, I'm like, okay, gotta wait till the trade paperback comes out or that because I was starting to realize I was buying like 3 issues a month just from Walking Dead. I'm like, crap, and it's like, ugh, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Remender's one of those writers that um, you just really anticipate to get the next issue or the trade and everything like that. Um, I tried started off trades with Seventh Eternity, went on vacation, read the book. As soon as I got to Michigan, I was like, "Hey, Dad, we gotta stop by the Barnes and Nobles for a minute. I gotta get this volume 2, okay?" Um, Brian K. Vaughan Brian K. Vaughan is like that too. He's my number one, and Remender's crawling up there. And he does the same thing too. It's just it's really good storylines. Millar's some of his stories, Jupiter Circle and Legacy. You're just ready. You're kind of like that. As soon as you get that book, you just want to be like the little kid from Never Ending Story and just run up to the attic and just sit there and start reading it with a flashlight.
Yep.
That's how I was with Reborn, reading through that, and then when I got to the final issue, I'm like, oh crap. It's like there is no more. I mean, and I understand that, but it's kind of as a collector and as a reader of these books, you're like, you don't want to see the story stop. You want
Right.
to
No.
see it keep going. And we all understand too that there has to be an ending at one point or another. We're like, all right, come on, make a sequel, make a volume 2, make a volume 3, 4, 5, 6, or something like that. But
Give me a
yeah,
spinoff.
yep.
And Deadly Class, I like it because it's in the '80s, and you see like certain things in the art as well that you could. I'm 38 years old. Sorry, I'm an '80s kid, so it's fun to sit there and reminisce about things, and you're like, okay, yeah, I remember those stuff too. Even though I was
Yep.
living in Germany most of in the '80s, but yeah, you can see a lot of that in there.
Well, and I think that's the thing that I like about him is he takes personal experiences, like I mean, the way that punk rock is shown in Deadly Class. You can tell that that's what he grew up on.
Hmm.
He grew up on bands like the Descendants, the Misfits, Bad Religion, all these type of things, and he puts that into that book. And I think that's one of the things that drew it or really kind of connected with me was like how he showed music as an experience and kind of what connected all these kids together. Even though they're from different backgrounds and things like that, and obviously wanting to kill each other throughout the
Yeah.
entire team. But like that was kind of like the one thing that really connected a lot of them, and it was just kind of cool to see like how much like music and Remender's personal experiences growing up in that scene really affected that book.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, BJ brings it up. I'm an '80s kid too, so I remember no crap. It was who was that band that was annoying? Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode used to
Oh,
annoy the crap out of me when I was a kid. It wasn't until I got older and actually, respect you like, hey, actually, what music really is. Like, oh
Right.
crap, they were actually way ahead of their time, in the '80s and what a lot of bands are today. Because it is the '80s music. I was a grunge, and a punk guy in the '80s. So I grew up with like Soundgarden, Screaming Trees, Nirvana, all those that came out in the early '80s. Green River, Mudhoney, and all those guys. I grew up with a
cool.
lot of that music. But then I learned to respect other music like that, Depeche Mode, and that's how I was the same way when I was reading Dead to Class. I'm like, okay, who's going to show up? Am I going to see, no, it wasn't NoFX, it was MXPX. That was the first thing I thought about was MXPX, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, those punk rock bands, that were freaking awesome back then.
Funny thing is, I actually have two MXPX tattoos.
I only listened to Depeche Mode because all the girls were into it. So I was like, I like Depeche Mode too.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him 3 times in concert. Just seeing him in concert's completely different than listening to him too, because it's like an experience. You can have a punk rock experience, like at the Warped Tour or something like that. But you go to Depeche Mode or like Nine Inch Nails, that's a musical experience. And
Oh
you're
yeah,
just like floored. You're like, what is going on?
I've seen the Nine Inch Nails, the top top three shows I've ever seen.
Uh, all right, so we had Count Von Stray said he didn't get into 7 Eternities. We only read the first issue, never picked up another one. Dude, you need to go get the trade and just read it. Just start reading all the way through. Because that makes more sense. I mean, the first issue is kind of confusing if you've never, read that kind of style of writing. It makes a lot more sense. Usually by issue, I think it was issue 3 and 4. You start getting a real flow of the series. But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. With Seven Eternity, with it being a fantasy book, you really need to give it the first arc at least, because Remender does a lot of world building, especially in that first issue. Because what I remember, it's been a couple months since I've reread it, but I remember there was a lot of kind of like you're basically dealing with Adam's family, and what his father did, where you don't really get a full sense of what is going on. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend at least picking up that first trade. I think like Amazon has it for like $6.99, so you're not really out a whole lot of money.
Nah.
And don't get attached to a character in there because he'll just break your heart in there. I'll tell you that right now.
He does that
Yeah.
in every book, though. I
He
mean,
does.
literally, you just don't know when he's going to kill off a character.
You know he's going to. You just don't know when.
I know. God. Sure. uh,
So I'm going to send you, BJ, a couple more to read too from him. And you might have to go do some digging to find this one. It's called Rule, the Gang Lords of Chinatown. Um, he was the inker for that book. He's not the writer.
okay.
And then Blackheart Billy. So, so
Okay.
I've only read that once, and that was online. Like I can't even find a copy of that Blackheart Billy anywhere here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll send you these ones to read through.
I'll check it out with my LCS. I'm gonna be up there Saturday. Old Jetta Patrol, Ryan and his buddy Nick are actually coming down from Charlotte Saturday.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm gonna meet up with him at my LCS and then show him around and tell him what other stores to go hit up. So I think he's gonna try to find some pops or something.
Nice.
He's always gonna find pops. That's what he. That's the only thing he buys is pops and and hot toys.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, hot toys get expensive after a while. You think about it. The price of a hot toy is a whole wave of Marvel Legends, and I can still have money
True.
left over.
That's true. I'm a Hot Toys collector. I can't say anything.
Oh, by the way, dude, the Princess Leia, man, that one looks. Oh, there, bring it. There
Her?
she is. There she is in all her glory.
It looks pretty nice.
Awesome.
I'll say that. I saw the review.
I was gonna whenever we did our pool, I was gonna show it off a little bit, but yeah, no, I'm quite impressed with her. I didn't expect to like her as much as I do, but she's probably my top 3 of all my Star Wars hot toys so far.
All right, so we got Art G's in the house. What's up, Art? And then Count Mon Strange asks, anyone hitting any conventions in the near future? I
Yep.
am not, but I know you are, BJ and Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I've got another one coming up in March. It's SC Comic Con in Greenville. This one's really good. This will be my 3rd time going. I think it's been out only 5 years, but each year it grows and grows, and it's getting better and better. They do primarily artists, writers, inkers. They'll have smaller actors come in. Last year, they had the gentleman who portrayed Darth Vader in Rogue One, and Barb from Stranger Things was there too. I'm not sure who they have this year. But Raleigh SuperCon in July is getting pretty big now. They just added gentleman from Luke Cage himself, Coulter. Is that his last name? He portrayed Luke Cage in the TV series. Can't remember. I feel bad because he's from South Carolina.
So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go in mid-March. There's one in Dayton, Ohio called Gym City Comic Con. I went last year because there was actually a couple artists I really like. I got some commissions there, but this year the only artist I really have any interest in seeing is Barry Kitson. I like to get a piece from him, but it's only like I want to say it's like $10 to get in. It's not a big show. I don't know about that one. And then obviously I'm hitting up C2E2 with Cincy and Josh Pence and a couple other guys. So we're all going up to C2E2 together. So that's in early April. And then I already have our tickets for the Cincinnati Expo, but that's not until way late in September. So I think those are only going to be the ones I'm going to hit up this year. I think so.
Yeah, I'm going to see about WonderCon. That'd probably be about my only one this year.
Yeah.
Because nobody can get tickets to SDCC anymore, it seems like.
If you have the right server that's connected at the right speed at the right time, and the moons align with a couple stars, and you have the winning lottery ticket, you might be able to get a ticket.
Well, even like me, I just went, so I had the eligibility. I should have got the first term into it, I had the early bird pass for registration and still couldn't get a ticket because there's so many people on that one now than just the regular. So I tried it at the early bird, then I tried it at the regular, and I said, okay, I didn't get through. I'm not going to worry about it. And I hate to say it, and I mean, this is actually a good segue to our Comic-Con 101 that we were going to talk about. One of the most overrated Comic-Cons now is SDCC, in my book. I've been there 4 times, and when I went the first time, it was before Big Bang Theory hit CBS. It was just almost like a local comic convention. They had started to get a couple of entertainers and stuff like that, but it wasn't nowhere as big as what it is now. I mean, literally, there's 4.5 days you have just entertainment now. The comic is kind of secondary to the entertainment, which is what's sad for us as comic book guys. Is like, I remember going in, I'm like, all right, I just want to, get a couple, autographs, walk in, do what I want to do, and get out. That's how I used to do it. But now it's become about entertainment, exclusives, and things like that. So it's like you lose the actual experience to the entertainment.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest thing with conventions now is it's all entertainment. I mean, you look at like any Facebook page, like I know the Cincinnati Expo was kind of tweeting out or had a post like, who would you want to see? And it was funny. It's like, 200 comments, and I'd say 80% of them, if not 90, were all, this person from Stranger Things, this person from Star Trek, this person from Star Wars, this person from Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, blah, 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 blah. And you maybe had one person, it's like Frank Miller, Jeff Lemire, Scott Snyder, it's crazy to think like, and then kind of going back to our diamond conversation, like, that's what's driving things today. I mean, you look at action figure sales, they're through the roof, but most people that collect action figures don't collect comics or don't, and those type of things. And I think that's where, maybe some of the comic stores are starting to transform from comic only to more of the pop culture collectible type stores. And unfortunately, I think that's where cons are going as well. I mean, you look, it's all about vendors and media. It's really not about comics anymore.
Well, I will say I do like how some of them are doing it, like Walker Sarker Con, for example. that is specifically just about Walking Dead, you know, and they
Right.
do everything that, and you know that when you go to it, you know, it's not going to be a huge comic convention. It's going to be an entertainment convention, you know. We used to have TrekkieCon, you know, those kind of things like that. And Star Wars had their thing, you know. And I think what happened was is one, I'm still blaming Big Bang Theory, um, but also the movies. When all the movies started coming out and the mainstream came out like that changed conventions completely. Because like I used to go to BotCon and TFCon just for Transformers and stuff like that, and that was for like small events. As soon as Transformers came out, the movie 2007, 2008, it blew up exponentially. You know, now there are good things to that too. Don't get me wrong. There's not just bad things. You know, it's like we got some exclusives that were only there and that were awesome to get, and there were characters we've all wanted to see like that, you know. But at the same time, the entertainment piece took over versus a convention of like cons or toy cons. So you were losing out on things as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
My
we
my
had.
first one was
Sorry,
that
go ahead, BJ. No, go ahead.
the first one I had I went to was 4 years ago, and it was a Wizard World one. I actually was just going there just to see like the celebrities and meeting them and stuff like that. But I was also doing it to get like autographs for my niece, who's a fan of them as well. And then I started buying some comic books. But getting, working with Chad at um, the job we're at, I started getting more of the actual Comic Con itself style of actually going to meet the artists, meeting the writers, the inkers, and everything. So I started looking up what kind of writers and inkers and artists I had, so I can go meet them. So I really liked your stuff. I appreciate that. And one of the inkers, his name is Walden Wong at HeroesCon. He was like, really, you like my stuff? I'm like, great. He's like, can I get a picture with you? He was like, you want a picture with me? Like you're the inker. It's like, yeah, I'm put it on Facebook and everything too. So like, cool. That's really neat. And now the cool thing is my oldest niece, she is 20, and she's going to her third Awesome Con in next weekend. So
Nice.
I created a monster.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. While I'm thinking about it, so Chad is doing the new Bumblebee comic graphic novel from IDW. So I need an autographed one from him, BJ.
Okay. It's him and his buddy Chris Sims. They do they co-write. They've got they do a good bit together. Um, Chad is just primarily doing Youngblood himself, but the other ones are usually Chris Sims. Both guys, they worked at the comic book store over here, and so they hung out together, and they decided to start doing some work
So
together. So
yeah, I
I'll
mean,
see if
I
I
saw a couple of the interior pages of it. So I mean, it looks really good.
yeah, I'll send you a sketch one through the message board too. Show you the before you even started it yet. So
Sweet.
yeah.
And then I want to bring up. So we're talking one on one for Comic Con. So we've all been to cons. We all know how the good, the bad, and the ugly goes at a con. Um, so I just want to give my experience um, from two separate cons. Okay, SDCC. You already know about that. I'm not a big fan of that one anymore, and that's because of the bulk of people that are there as well, and nobody knows how to take a shower. Um, and and I am being honest with everybody out there on the chat. This is what I want to bring up. A, don't sleep in your car. Get a hotel room. Don't sleep in your car in the hotel or convention area. Seen it done twice. And take a shower and go eat something. You know, that's the biggest advice I can give to a lot of people. You know, um, bring cash. Do not bring your debit card half the time. Because most places don't take it. I mean, some of them are getting better. Like if you had like a bigger retailer, you know, they're gonna have like a Square Up or something for their phone or something like that and do a swap. Cash works a lot easier, and you can negotiate and haggle a lot easier with it. Um, Especially if you say I only have $20 and they're asking 30, I got 20. And a lot of times they'll be good to actually sell. Um, the best day to buy things. Now, if you want exclusives, it's that preview night or the first day.
Yep.
If you're just wanting to buy stuff like comics and stuff like that, wait till the last day of the convention. Because everything goes on clearance, they're trying to get rid of, because then that way they don't have to take it back home with them.
Yep.
And then one other thing I would say too is budget. Have a set budget in mind when you go. Budget a week or two before you actually leave home. Because what happens is everybody gets into the con and they're like, this is so cool. And you don't even like that thing, you know? And you're like, it's at the con, I gotta have it. No, if you didn't want it before you went to the con, you don't need it now. Now,
Yep.
that all changes, of course, with like comics and things like that. We'll see something like, oh crap, I've wanted that for years, and you finally find it, and you're like, well, that's way over my budget, you know? We've all done that, you know? But if you're, say example, you're a Wolverine fan, and then they have this Walking Dead exclusive thing, you know, for $300. You're like, but it's at the con. You don't need it, you know. Stick with what you like, you know. And the main thing too, of course, have a good time while you're there. Don't be pressured about having to go to one place to another place to another place. It's just like the panels and stuff. The panels are awesome to sit down and listen to, you know. But if you have to go stand up in a panel, and that's a 2 hour panel, just think about 2 hours of standing up, you know. Or if it's a 5 hour waiting line just to get into that panel, okay, you just wasted 5 hours. You could have been doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just think about that, or look at some of them will actually have times on their panels. They'll say waiting lines 30 minutes to an hour, or they'll say, "Hey, panel has been pre-booked." Like I've seen SDCC, WonderCon, and a couple other ones. You actually pay for the panel online. It's an extra dollar or two, but you're guaranteed a seat, and you don't have to wait in line either. So some of those have started doing that too.
Um, couple things. I did use your uh, idea there, Nate. Last Saturday, I brought cash, and my buddy was not able to go with me, so I had some cash on me. I grabbed some Michael Turner covers for him, and I just I got $5 knocked off of it, but it's better than what they were telling me to get for it. But if you go to straight up to find the writers and artists, you can get one of these sketchbook, like $5-6 at Hobby Lobby, Michaels. I've only have one sketch so far, but you can find some of the just artists themselves that you can get like a $10-$20 sketch for, and they'll do it for you. Like I had this one guy just do my good old Shadowhawk or Shadow Cat there.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was cool. We actually saw him again the year after, and he did another sketch for my niece as well. And then a book bag as well, so you can carry everything. And if you buy comics, you can try to maybe get one of these little plastic holders to keep those nice and expensive books in there. I just recently got this, but I got it for half off, and I've been needing one, so I actually used it this first time there too. And yeah, enjoy yourself. Walk around first time just to know where everything's at. Trades are always on sale. I mean, you can get good ones for $5 that are usually 15-20. Enjoy the cosplays. They do a lot of work in these costumes, and they come out there just to show, the fans and everything too.
Well, and the piggyback on that too, when you're looking around the first time, don't buy the first thing you see.
Yep.
Look around. There could always be deals on that same thing that's 50% cheaper at another place. That's how I bought my Zomnibus one year. It was retailing for 130. One guy had it for 75. I walked around literally like maybe it's like 2 blocks because it's a huge con, and a guy had it for $38. So it's like just kind of look around too. Oh, and bring this is what I usually do too. Make a checklist of things that you wanted to. You know, if there's specific things that you wanted to buy, because when you get there, you're going to forget a lot of stuff. Your memory sucks. It really does. So if you have a checklist, at least that'll help out. I like that holder you have, BJ, because I used to use one of those accordions, you know, like those old cheap accordion file folder things in the plastic thing, and there's a chance that you might bend your book up, you know. So that's I gotta get me one of those harder cases.
Okay.
Oh, and one more thing, bring a backpack.
Mhm.
Because you carrying 8 bags of stuff in a con doesn't work out so well.
It's
You
not.
know, especially like for you, Kyle. I mean, you buy Hot Toys, so if you bought say 3 or 4 of those in a con, you know, you're talking. I mean, those are big boxes. I know what they look like. You know, that's just some heavy stuff to carry around too.
But that's actually the funny thing. I never buy any figures at all at a convention. For kind of my rule of thumb is buy art. Convention in my and I'm kind of weird like this. Like I'll look through vendors. I'll you know if someone has a really good deal on something, I may pull a trigger. But like I go to conventions for art, only because it's like one of those things that like most conventions, most action figures you can find or collectibles you can find cheaper on Amazon. You can find cheaper at your local comic book shop. A lot of places do mark up, you know, because it is a convention. They'll mark up the prices quite a bit. Uh, so it's kind of one of those things. I'll look around. I'll try to haggle if I can if there's something I really want. But it's one of those things. I spend all my time in Artist Alley where I'm always looking for a lot of big names. As an art collector, I try to collect a lot of original pages from the artists and books I absolutely love. But I also try to like walk around and find someone. You know, a lot of people that maybe it's someone that just started in comics, or maybe it's someone that just does a lot of independent work. But just someone that maybe, you know, I really like their art and I can, you know, maybe their commission prices are only, I don't know, between 20, 30, 40, $50 for a full sketch or full art piece. And if I really like their art, I'll just go ahead and have them do something for me. That way I'm supporting, you know, artists, because I mean, you think about it, like a lot of these artists, like some of the huge names are all invited there. They're paid to be there, those type of things. But a lot of them are paying the convention to be there. And the only way
Yeah.
they get that money back is if convention goers actually support them. So that's a huge thing for me is, I mean, as much fun as it is, I know we're all action figure collectors. I know we're all comic collectors. I guess kind of my recommendation is make sure you're looking through a lot of the artists, make sure you're looking through a lot of the kind of people that do arts and crafts and are selling their own products there, because a lot of them are paying to be there. And that's something that I kind of take pride in is trying to help those people, you know, make it a successful show. Uh, you know, as much fun as it is to get caught up in celebrities and things like that, you know, the real people that really make the show possible, the people that are paying for those celebrities to be there are these artists and creators that, you know, are paying the fees to have their own table there. And then just to kind of echo what everybody else has said, cash is amazing. Don't buy anything the first walk around. Walk around the entire floor before you buy anything. That would make sure it's something you really want, something that, you know, you're getting a good deal on. I mean, enjoy yourself. The biggest thing for me is always planning it out. Like C2E2, I already have most of it planned. I know exactly who I want to see. I know exactly what books I want to take to get signed. I've already done a lot of research to figure out, okay, Tom King allows 2 free books to be signed. Anything after that is $5. There's just a lot of information, and that's the biggest thing. Don't go to a convention expecting, and this is probably the biggest thing for anybody that hasn't been to a convention before, don't expect anything for free at a convention. Even though you're paying money to get in the convention, it's still going to cost you money to meet people. It's still going to cost you money to get autographs, especially the celebrities. I mean, you're looking at anywhere between $30 and $100 per autograph. And that usually doesn't include a photo. That's another $30 to $100 on top of that. Just be very prepared. Do a lot of research before you go. That way you're not surprised when you get there and you're trying to I don't know, meet Karen Gillan, and all of a sudden her photo price is $60 and her autograph's another $60, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm spending $120 just to meet her. That's probably the biggest thing I can say is just do your research. There's a ton of valuable resources online. Most of the conventions post. I know C2E2 just posted their autograph pricing for a lot of their major guests like Batista and a lot of like the higher name people. So you can always see kind of what to expect to spend. Just do a lot of research and just kind of expect. And the last thing, expect to stand in line. There's going to be a ton of lines.
Yep.
Especially these bigger conventions. I mean, like C2E2. I mean, you're talking like if you want to meet like Tom King, I'm fully prepared to stand in line at least 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's because I have a bad back now. I don't stand in lines hardly that long anymore.
Right. I think Stan Lee, when I met him at Cincinnati Comic Expo, it was 4 to 5 hours. And I paid for the express pass. There,
Yeah,
I talked to the people in line because it was weird. So they would let in 5 people with the express pass and then 1 person in without the express pass. So like the lines eventually mingled. And I asked the people behind me that didn't have the express pass that I did. I thought it was ridiculous that I waited 4 to 5 hours. I asked them. They said that as soon as the con opened at 10 a.m., this was like 4 in the afternoon, they had immediately, as soon as the con opened, they got in line. So, I mean, expect it, especially if it's a huge name, especially like someone like Stan Lee, Frank Miller, expect an extremely long line.
yeah. I mean, the big thing too is the cost of signatures now. I mean, you look at some of them like Miller's goes from 800 to 1,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he's got so big now.
Yep.
And he doesn't do many cons either. I mean, that is the catch-22. Like Neil Adams, he goes to a ton of cons.
He's
You
everywhere.
you can get one from him pretty cheap. But like McFarlane, nope, he doesn't show up often. Neither does Miller. Stanley goes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, for example, his Comic Con he has down here used to be Comic Cons, and now it's LA Comic Con. It's still a 2 hour wait. And that's a small con. But it's starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, of course, you know what that means. Lines get longer and longer and longer because there's more people. Um, the one person I always say go out and see when you're at a con is the new guy, the brand new guy that you've never heard of before. Because that's where a lot of these artists and writers start out as. They're nobody, no names, and then they grow up. I mean, Remender's a good example of that. Nobody knew who he was when he was writing like Captain Dingleberry, you know. So you think about that, 10 years, 15, 20 years later, these people are huge now,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I mean, even look at Tom King. I mean, with Sheriff of Babylon, like, I mean, that was a Vertigo title that who cared about it? And then all of a sudden he does the Vision for Marvel. That blows up, and now he's, writing Batman. I mean, even Scott Snyder in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of like American Vampire, Witches, those type of things. I mean, the first time I ever met Scott Snyder, there was no one at his table. I mean, I got to talk to him for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then now you can't even get close to him.
That's how it was with Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver. When they first showed up in DC, I'd heard the rumors, hey, they're going to redo Hal Jordan as a Green Lantern and then The Flash with Barry Allen. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. 20 minutes. That was the wait line, in there. And they both signed, the book and everything I got there and had a sketch done. But it was cool because a lot of these new guys at this time, they want to talk to you. They want to talk to the fans and learn, like, what do you want to see? What do you want to do? Like, what changes would you make? Because they take your ideas, and that's actually what gets puts in the books lots of times.
Yep.
Yeah, they just added Tom King to the Raleigh SuperCon last week. So I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, he's 2 freaks. From what I found out, he'll sign 2 books for free, and then he's $5 at each one after.
That's not bad.
No, I think I'm gonna take probably 5, 5 altogether.
I might have to send you my Batman #1 then.
Yeah, but honestly, if you guys have anything you guys want signed, just feel free. I'll definitely do my best to try to get them signed for you.
And Art says he waited 10 to 15 minutes for J. Scott Campbell. I want to talk about J. Scott Campbell for a minute too. He's an interesting fellow. We'll say that in person. He does some great artwork. Don't get me wrong. I love his artwork. He's been doing some great stuff for the last 10 or 15 years. He's a specific type of artistry. We all know what I'm talking about.
Big beautiful ladies.
Exactly. It was like him and Michael Turner. They should have been best friends in real life. But he is really personable, and he doesn't charge an arm and a leg either, which is funny because you would think, for like some of the stuff he does. Now, his books that get, signed and stuff like that, they go up in value like nothing too. So, so you guys do know I'm a comic grader as well. It's for CGC and CBCS. Two things you need to remember when you go get comics signed. Have it verified by a CGC or CBCS at the con. Because if you ever want to get it slabbed and it's not authenticated, you'll never get a yellow label. So yeah, definitely. I wanted to bring that up too, since we're talking cons.
Yeah. Learned that the hard way. My number 2 autographed of X-Force number 2 from Ron Liefeld.
You got a qualified grade, didn't you? A green one.
They said they wouldn't. I just brought it. I was like, hey, I just got this autograph. Can I get this? Certified. It's like, oh, we can't do it because we weren't there. But I got a picture of him autographing it. So I don't know if they took that or not. Oh, well.
Yeah, they're really particular, man. That's why they show up with like 800 people there now too at cons. You just got to find one of the lackeys with their little signature or their little lapel thing. It's funny. I have one too, so it's kind of funny when I go show up at a con. It's like I could be an authorized witness, and I get a little name tag or something like that. I have to wear it saying I'm an authorized witness for it. But yeah, always find those guys at a con because they will save you so much hassle. Especially like if you get a big name like say Jim Lee or Stan Lee or something like that, and you want to get a slab down the road, you need that person with you.
Especially with the cool new Stan Lee label they have.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man. All right.
Yeah, Art's right. I mean, the Turner was a good dude before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading, Witchblade and Evangeline and Fathom.
Yep.
All right. So we've come to this portion of our video that everybody gets to show their haul. So what'd y'all get?
BJ,
Am I the only one who got one? Am I the only one who got something this week?
No, I got a couple things.
I got some other than comics.
I did too. All right, I'll start off again here. The ever so popular Transformers versus Visionaries number 3. I'm liking the art, storyline. It's okay. Yeah. X-Men Blue number 22. I just realized I need to go get Venom's issue before I can read this. That's a pretty cool cover too. I grabbed this because I think it's like a prequel kind of thing to Labyrinth, so it's a Coronation. Not the same thing that I bought 2 months ago, but might as well try it out. Right there.
Did you see they're re-releasing Labyrinth on the big screen?
And Dark Crystal.
Dark
Yeah,
Crystal, baby.
it was yesterday, I thought. Or at least I know
Oh, did they?
some of our theaters were showing it last night. Yeah.
Oh, man, that'd be awesome. And then old Saga's back. Should I cover this up so YouTube won't mess with you?
Nah, I don't care.
That's
Okay,
cut.
but it doesn't finish it, so yeah. And the new comic out with Chad Bowers and Chris Sims. Kiss My Army Darkness.
I got to get that.
Look at that right there. This is cover C though, so look for that. This is the third variant of it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the other ones on this page, but that's the original. And then you got the Necronomicon looking like Gene Simmons there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good storyline. I'm digging it. Those are the comics. Should I show the other ones stuff to you?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well, good old Paul Hughes hooked me up. He found me the Saga The Will Chase over there in Washington.
Nice.
So he was looking for some things, and I found him the Island Journey Ray. And I got one for myself too. Can't beat that. And then I won a raffle on Facebook for $10.
Freaking A.
Huh?
Freaking A.
Yeah, buddy. Got him.
Oh, yeah, the Mezco, Dead Force.
Yeah,
Very nice.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, digging these Mezcos. That's it. I'm done.
All right. So this week I picked up Rock Candy Mountain Volume 1 from Kyle Starks. This is just a fun little book all about hobos in the Dust Bowl era. It's a lot of fun. I actually have all the single issues. Kyle Starks, I know him. He does a lot of like Rick and Morty stuff. He does that for, is it Oni Press, I think?
Uh-huh.
Rick and Morty. He's at all the cons around here. Also picked up from Image Spread Volume 3. Really like this book, so I'm trying to get caught back up. And then I picked this up a couple weeks ago from my local half-price books, and I forgot to show it off last week. But I got the Button hardcover for $8. I thought that was awesome because it's
Yeah, it is.
So it was like 20 is a cover price, so they had it on sale for 10, and then I had like a 20% off coupon, so got that for $8. Then I was batted off for a hardcover, and then I showed her off a little bit earlier, but I'll show her off again. I got the Hot Toys Princess Leia in the Hoth outfit, and yeah, I absolutely love this figure. So super excited to have her in my collection, and I just got notification yesterday that my Arkham Asylum Joker hot toy will be in 2 weeks. So I won't have it next week, but the following week I should have it that Thursday. So I'll have it on the live stream.
Well, and that's the nice thing about, people don't realize that, like, these are expensive figures, but they have an awesome payment plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
If there's like specific ones you want, like some people collect certain ones, like, I'm going to get the Groot one, and I have some of the Star Wars ones on pre-order, but the big thing is that their payment plans help out so much, especially if you're trying to budget on things, because like you got the X-Force Deadpool. I have the same one. I'm a huge Mezco X-Men collector, I'm still waiting on the Wolverine to come out, from X-Force, so I'm definitely going to be picking that one up. So it's all about the budgeting,
Yep. Well, and that's the thing about Hot Toys too, is like you have to like a lot of people, if you're trying to get into collecting them, like, yeah, you can buy a lot that are out now, but most of them when they go for pre-order don't come out for another year. Like I just pre-ordered the Black Panther from the movie and the Eric Killmonger, and both of those don't come out until Q1 of 2019. So it's like, basically when they announce them, you still have another year before they actually come out. Now, I do order all mine through Sideshow, so I had to put down like, $20, $30 deposit. But I mean, for the most part, they don't. You have time to save up, those type of things. It's just when you pre-order 18 in a year, that's where it gets dicey.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, it's like Mezco. They do the same thing, So here's some recommendation for people with Mezco. Unless it's a Mezco Toys exclusive, don't buy it off their website. If you want to pre-order it, go through Big Bad Toy Store or your local place, or something like that. If you want to pre-order it, because you can always cancel your order if you find it, like in shops or whatnot, like that. But that's what I would recommend, because like I got the Mezco Toys exclusive Red Deadpool, and the only difference was it came with the head pool. It took me an extra month and almost 10 days to get it after everybody else already had theirs.
Right.
They are way slow on shipping, on getting their stuff out, and it's because of the bulk that they have to do. Because they have a business strategy, they do let's get out to the distributors, to the comic shops, to everybody else like that. Then they actually get the retail orders out to the consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why comic shops will get it first, everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so my haul.
Yeah.
I got this guy.
Yes.
This is that Vince Iron Man. I've got the whole set on card because I love the carded, but I was like, I need one just to play with and mess around with.
Yeah.
Got this for $3 at Target. It's the Age of Last Night Hound Voyager on clearance. This one I'm gonna need 2 hands for though.
Please be the Hulkbuster hot toy.
No, it's not that big, so to speak. But it's pretty heavy. So this is the Takara Legends God Bomber and God Jinrai or God Convoy. It's a combination of the Takara Legends Super Jinrai here, and then the God Bomber that combines together into the actual Transformer.
Well then.
But yeah, that's the big boy I got this week so far. And the week ain't over yet. But yeah, that's all I got.
Very nice.
Nicely done.
Well, we're at 9 o'clock, guys. My time here, which is 12 o'clock your time there.
Yep.
So I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who came by today, supporting us in Syndi-Comics. I just changed the banner back to normal Syndi-Comics. Black Panther's been out for 2 weeks, so it's time to go back to normal. I'm asking for a new design, though. It's time that we made our own design for Syndi-Comics. I kind of made the one for, if you guys know about the Syndicate buy-sell trade, I kind of went and re-edited the Syndicate one, and I put that. I want to do something specific just for Syndi-Comics. So, everybody on the stream and BJ and Kyle, I need help with this. I suck at designing things. If you've watched one of my videos, I do decent editing on my videos, but I suck at actually like making designs and stuff like that. If you want a doodle man, that's what I can do. But yeah, I am asking for everybody to help out. So yeah, what I want to do is I'm going to put it probably on our Syndi-Comics page too. I'm going to put a little thing out there. Hey, looking for a new logo out there for everybody. Brad Campbell's been really good about helping us out too with one, so I'll reach out to Brad too. But kind of want to like have it somebody that's been different from the Syndicate lately. I just want to have like somebody that might have new creative design that wants to do it. So probably gonna put that out there probably today or tomorrow.
Cool.
But yeah, that's all I got this week, guys. My throat's about to go. So
not a problem.
Cool. If you guys have not watched the interview with Brock Rivers and Nate himself here, do check it out. It's really good. Learn a lot of stuff about the Transformers that I didn't even know about when I'm older than him.
We had a blast. I'll tell you, man. It was like almost 2 hours of talking with Brock. It was a
Yeah.
good time, though. All right, guys. Well, you guys
So,
take it easy and have a good one out there. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, BJ, for being here every week.
You
Um,
see?
we'll definitely have more fun next week.
Yeah.
yep.
All right.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. You two land.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Later.